Good. Hospital. At Oshai. Are you working at Oshai or? Rockwell? I thought you were doing.
Hey, Kate, are you starting the meeting now?
I guess I don't work with you, just,
No, I decided.
you go to, I'll try this. Just on me. Oh, I saw the presiding officer. What do I do?
Titles?
Get time. It's his time.
Speaker two.
Good morning, everyone.
Kate is on here. Morning.
Ah, that's better. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I suddenly realized I'm supposed to be the presiding officer because I agreed to do that in one of my moments last week. So I welcome everyone, and if everyone would stand to do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now let's see, who is the inspiration? Mike Florio, are you on? Okay, well, we'll wait for our inspiration. We'll just be inspired by the fact that the next 2 days here are supposed to be a little bit warmer. We'll not talk about the weekend yet, if that's okay with everyone. So are there any announcements need to be made? Kate? Thanks. I'll just stand up at the lectern with you at the same time. We have coming up on April 1st is our club's 39th anniversary. And if you haven't seen it in a notification or announcements, we will go as a happy hour to New York Beer Project on that Saturday, April 1st from 4 to 6, just hanging out at the bar space. We've had a few who've RSVP'd and said, sure, they'll come. It's very casual. So that's the plan for Saturday, April 1st. Oh, you know what? I should grab the clipboard to see who's here. Well, I can just see. We have, just so everyone knows who's here and we can see everyone. We've got Tracy Farrell, Marty Johnston, Len Thornton, Mr. Mark Crane, our Toastmaster, Dave Licata, Nancy Rose, Jackie Kenny, Sylvia, Mom and I. Did I say Len? Oh my gosh, Len has the best St. Patrick's Day hat. If you're not here in person, you are missing out. On Zoom, thank you for switching over. We have Margot and Mark and Carol and Eric, Phil, Jen, David Jones, and the lectern and the room view.
Yeah.
So we have a great meeting this morning. I will go, I was going to say one more thing. Oh, I was looking for Thomas Heldwine, but I don't see him on here. But we did announce last week that he will be moving on to represent the entire division area, Division A at the district contest. So that's super exciting. And I have something for him today, but I'll give it to him another time if he can't be here today. I know he has a massive project at work. I think that is it. And I'll pass it back to Mom. Thank you, Kate. Yes. As treasurer, I just want to remind everyone that dues are due. I have many dues in, but not everyone. So if you could get those in, if you want to hand them to me, it will have to be by next week because then I will be on Zoom only for a month. So if you otherwise, please mail it. Let's see, Carol Ann, I did get your envelope yesterday, so you are all set. And I already told Margot I've got hers. We're all set there. So now it is my pleasure to turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day, Mark Crane.
Thank you. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters here in the room and at home and on Zoom. Looking forward to a good learning experience today. And since we don't have our inspiration word for the day, I'd like to chime in with something that's dear to my heart right now. In the last couple of weeks, I've actually had 2 family members die. And one of them we found out just the other day, and out in California from his family. And it's just a terrible, terrible thing. And that, you know, a lot of people with COVID and being separated from everyone, it's very hard to keep up with them. And if people have health issues in the first place, and they're not being watched and they're not being in a connected mode, we can lose track of them. And even today, we were going to have maybe an additional speaker today. I actually volunteered for that because I didn't want to burden them. And it was going to be a eulogy. I'm doing a eulogy at a funeral. But if I don't need to do that now, that would be great. But I spend way too much time at funeral homes and doing condolence calls. But the one thing about inspiration today, we don't know how much time we have. And if you love someone, you let them know it. Be around the positive people in your life because we need it. We need to recharge our batteries every day. And sometimes we have to distance ourselves from people that drain our batteries. And that's my inspiration today. Love the ones you love, let them know it, because you might not see them tomorrow. Thank you. So we have I sent around the job holders for today. If I miss somebody or somebody doesn't, I'm sure they'll be called on to do something for us today. Yes, especially.
You can call those out.
Right. We did have some changes that unbeknownst to me, I don't know, for some reason I keep getting knocked off the website as a non-paying dues member, and I think I pay up front all the time, usually with cash. But I don't know what's been happening. And then they won't let me on the site. So we're trying to work that out. So we'll see if Mike Florio shows up. Word master today, Mark Campos. The odd master will be David Jones. Quote master Phil Russell. Jester, we're not sure if our student is going to chime in here, but I'm sure we'll get a joke of the day out of somebody or some kind of light mood. Timer, of course, our faithful Leonard Thompson. And I do like the hat guy. Quizmaster Ryan Floria. Table topics, Jackie, Kenny. Nancy's with us, even though I thought she was ill. Thank you for coming. And Catherine Orr's here today as speaker number 2. And we got David Licata. Always a pleasure. And alternate, if you want to hear my eulogy, fine. I do enough of them. It seems like I'm always over approved and can't. Evaluator would be Marty for speaker number 1. Evaluator 2 is Sylvia, and evaluator 3 is Beth. So that's our housekeeping there. And general evaluator will be Jennifer. And I did send a message to her if she would do reports at the end for us. And then we'll have our closing. Is there anything that I may have forgotten? And believe me, I'm on a real big learning curve here. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, everything checked off so far. We can bounce back to the word of the day, and Mark can let us know what the word of the day is, and then we can go to each individual role so they can explain their role. So you can start with Mark Campos, the word master.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning, everyone. So the theme was about being able to say no. So I was thinking about words along those lines like decline, reject, but I ultimately landed on one of my favorite words, and that word is veto. It's one of my favorite words because I attempt to use it in my household from time to time, claiming to veto something that I do not approve of. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody's listening, and I really don't have any true veto powers in my household, but the definition is as follows. Veto can be a noun, as in an authoritative prohibition, or a verb, to refuse, to admit, or approve. There's more definitions than that, but we'll keep it simple today. So please make sure to use the word veto, and I will put the definition in the chat. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. That's very good. I don't have much of a vote at home either, or veto for that matter. And we just got a new dog the last 3 weeks, and I think she's got a little more power in the house than I do. Because we really have to conform to the way she's working in for us. But that's great, veto. And the reason I chose having us to be able to say no and bring that topic up is the fact that a lot of us are engaged with a lot of different groups out there, and they ask for our time. And if you get into retirement too, they think you've got a lot of time when you really don't. You kind of wonder how you could ever worked before once you get into retirement. And people just assume the fact you got 40 hours a week to work for them. And that's just not true. And you want to do the things you'd like to do. And sometimes you do have to say no. You have to save your sanity and just say, hold on there. And if you got a great idea and someone's coming to you to run that idea for them, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to get right behind you. You know, put them in the forefront, make them step up to the plate. Don't leave them hanging, but we don't have to do everything for everyone. And if everyone does just a little bit, it makes the job go by a lot easier. So that's really why, and I find myself being called on a lot to help out or do, and it ends up in your lap. Thank you. So that brings us to, yeah, David Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I will be your master and grammarian today. As master, I'll be looking for filler words such as so, you know, and a few other words I've already heard, and also looking for the good and poor uses of grammar. I won't veto the grammar that is poor, but I will notify everybody when called upon. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. I think I'm just the master of the that's what that comes down to, but I'm working on it. Quote master, Phil Russell.
Sorry about that. Hey, Vito, I thought that was Dave Licata's uncle.
Yeah. Corleone.
Well, yeah, that's my stupid joke for the day. All right, I am the quote master. Now, first off, before I get to the quote master, you see this hat, McGuire's Irish Pub? I was talking with David Jones. If you get to Pensacola, you've got to go there. The ladies have to go in and kiss the moose. The naval aviators hang out there. And they do have a drink called the Irish Wake. You have one, it's fine. You have two, that's enough. The third one, they're carrying you out. So McGuire's Irish Pub, Pensacola, Florida. Now, some quotes. Now, these are Irish quotes. So we're not sure who made them up because they've been around forever. Number one, what butter and whiskey won't cure, there is no cure for. Number two, may your home always be as small, may your home always be too small to hold all your friends. I get a little tongue-tied on these quotes. Number 3, a best friend is like a 4-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. Number 4, who keeps his tongue keeps his friends. May you live as long as you want and never want as long as you live. Mr. Toastmaster.
You, Phil. Phil's one of my Knights of Columbus brothers too. It's nice hearing from him. Okay, we have, we may or may not get a gesture today, but if Phil is doing a pretty good job with some of the quotes there too. So we won't dispense with it. But if somebody has can lighten the mood later, that would be fine. They can chime in anytime they want. That would bring us to the timer, Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My job today is to make sure that we're all punctual, that we speak in the allotted time period, not much longer, not much shorter. And I will signal the speakers by changing the background green, amber, and red, as I've done in the past. Also, a quick announcement, I will be sending out the reservation email for the next quarter. No, don't do that. That's going to create problems. Please, as you get that email, take just a minute, look at your calendar and decide what days can and can't be available for a job. It makes it so much easier if everybody responds. Typically, I get a third of the members responding, and I have to change that words next to my support. So please, when you get the email, please respond. Either way, for everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
So we have Toastmaster Ryan.
Ryan, a little feedback. Okay,
That's one you can easily just go away. You don't have to get hung up on.
yeah, because that's at the end. And all right, and try to stump us. Okay, well, let's put that on the shelf and we'll get it next time. Okay, table topics, Jacqueline Kenny. Always a pleasure. How was your meal the other day? Pretty good.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Favorite mug? Herself, she who must be obeyed. Kind of a theme in my house. Anyway, I know everyone's going to use the word veto this morning, and I'm going to start by asking Tracy if you've ever been maneuvered into fulfilling a request from someone when you would have preferred to say no.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Have I ever been maneuvered into something? You've just described my entire life. It seems like every time everybody needs something, and I don't mean to say we all need something, but everything you get involved with, people need help. If you get involved in any type of organization or any club, any type of work and taking on extra committees, you actually need the workers to do the job. And so we all get sucked into these things. And I have no power to veto any of them.
for some reason, I don't know how to say no. So I do get involved in a lot of things. It's good for me to be involved in those things because it keeps me busy and keeps me, if I'm not super busy, I create projects for myself at home and I get way overwhelmed in these projects, and soon I have a garden that I can't take care of, or I'm trying to bake all this stuff or all kinds of things. And I can spend way more money than I actually have to support my projects. So keeping busy in other people's projects helps me veto my projects. It is, and I always worry about retirement too, because I'll get involved in things. It's like, how can people afford to retire? Because at least I'm working and I'm keeping busy. If I'm home, I can't afford to do that just because I'm constantly doing things. Learning to say no is probably the biggest asset or quality we can have in ourselves, because we focus on what's really important if we learn how to say no. It's something I haven't learned yet, but I'm continually working on it. So thank you, Madam Toastmaster, for sharing my inability to say no. Thank you, Tracy. I have found that children are a wonderful convenience. If you left your book upstairs, you can send one of them up for it. If you need someone to bring the groceries in from the car or bring in packages from the front porch, they're always available. So I want to know, Phil Russell, do you have any times in your life when you can remember being a convenience for your parents and you had no veto power? Phil.
You're really asking for it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, there was this one time on Gooding Street when I knew my Uncle Unc and my Aunt Malvina were coming in from Wolcottsville. My dad gave me an assignment. If Unc needs a drink, there's some whiskey, get it for him. Make sure he's happy. I did. Unc came in. I went in, I got him a glass with a little whiskey in it. Well, probably more than a little whiskey, because I was young at the time. He took care of it. He was smiling. He was smiling. He was sitting by the window near the door to go out, and it was what we called a telephone room, and he was happy, a nice big easy chair. Then what happened was a little mysterious. He needed another one, so I gave him the other one. And he picked up the Mad magazine we had laying around. Now, Unc, we found out, was reading it upside down. Molly, older sister Molly, came in with her boyfriend, Dave Conlon, her now husband. And they saw Unc sitting there reading the Mad magazine upside down, having a joyous time drinking his whiskey. We all paid attention. Then all of a sudden he disappeared. He wasn't there. Uh-oh, am I in trouble now? Unc was gone. What did they do? Malvina and my dad said, let's go to the nearest gin mill. Of course, that was Skirto's 2 blocks away. And there he sat at the bar, enjoying his next whiskey. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Phil. Some theories suggest that a lack of confidence is the reason that some people find it so difficult to say no. When have you had an experience like that, Margot? When you said yes, when you really wanted to say no, And was it because you lacked confidence? Margot?
Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics, for this opportunity to speak. Lack of confidence is not my reason for saying no or failing to say no. For me, it's more that I feel obligated to help. However, I recently finally found my backbone, stood up and vetoed something that somebody asked me to do. They asked me to be the president of the wine trail, and I found the fortitude to turn them down. Wasn't a lack of confidence. I've done this now for 18 years. So the time had come to pass the baton to somebody else. It's been a long time since I've been president. It's one of those been there, done that kind of things. In other situations, somebody asks for my help, the word yes comes out pretty much automatically. It's just how I was raised. It's just in me to help somebody else. So what I found is the easiest thing to do when I have to consider something now is to take a minute, let me check my calendar. And then if I can fit it in, I do. And if I can't, I don't. So that's my way of saying no. I finally learned to just look at the calendar and realize I'm only one person. I just can't do it all, which is quite a surprise to some people who have asked me to do many things. So that, Madam Table Topics, is how I have learned to say no and veto doing many jobs. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, could we have a timer's report on our three speakers, please? Mr. Timer. Ooh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Topic Master. I'm pleased to report that all three of our table topics contestants qualified, Tracy at 203, Phil at 208, and Margot on the short side, 136. So they all qualify time-wise.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we'd like a word master report. How many people vetoed something in their speaking, Mark?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Tracy used the word twice. Phil, I did not hear you use it during your story. It was a great story because Unc didn't veto any servings of whiskey that day. Margot used it twice as well. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. So now cast your vote, and I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Mark Crane. Mark.
I must veto that. I did say it at the very beginning.
Did you? I'll give you credit. You're an honorable Toastmaster, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe we'll have it to take a vote on that and maybe veto. I don't know. If we're on the theme, it looks like I got a topic that excited a few ideas in the room, and that's a good thing because I know how I get burdened all the time. As a matter of fact, my wife, she likes my right arm to be in a sling when I go to meetings, so I don't keep raising my hand up and including myself without checking the schedule, and that's not a good thing to do. Intro for Marty Johnson for Nancy Roses.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Mark. I'm pleased to be evaluating Nancy Rose this morning, who is working in the motivational strategies path. It's an elective that she's practicing, excuse me. And it's on 8 to 10 minutes, Mr. Timer. Please help me welcome Nancy Rose. What is the difference? Self-love versus self-care. What is the difference? Nancy Rose. Morning.
Thank you. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm gonna have him pull up the screen. And then we can start the timer. Or do you want me to do it without it? We're getting there. I'll give you a little background about it. I work with people around self-esteem issues. And a lot of times we do talk about self-love and self-care. And I put a PowerPoint together and I'll be using this for work. So I'm practicing for my tone and PowerPoint. And I will be reading because it is just a practice. Self-love and self-care. What is the difference? There's a big movement in the world today for practicing self-love and self-care. You see this in social media and even on TV. One day I was talking to Jackie Kenny of how I saw people talking about self-love versus self-care. It's not moving. Okay, it's fine. It's about self-love and self-care and even selfishness on an NFL TV show. And she said, how could this be? This is great. And then it dawned on me that I could ask a good friend of mine, Kathleen Neville, who works for the NFL production company, Champion Conduct. And she said, we're talking about that on the NFL because it's about loving yourself, taking care of yourself, and even moving forward with what you love with diligence. I'm so glad this movement is happening in my life. I work with so many people who struggle in this area. So with this presentation, I hope to share the differences about self-love, self-care, and even selfishness. So I ask you, have you seen the movement, or better yet, in what ways do you love yourself? Because love is abundant and there's no limitation on how much you can love yourself. This sounds simple, but in reality, it's easier said than done. A lot of times these two terms are used interchangeably, but the problem is there's a big difference between both terms. I'll start by talking about self-care. Self-care is the practice of taking care of yourself every day, both mentally and physically. It keeps your mind strong and your body strong. It's an essential part of the mental recovery to get over the natural stresses in our lives. On a physical level, self-care can help you stay healthy and strong. Keep in mind your own self-care. It's about being proactive and not reactive. What I mean about being proactive is putting your own needs first so you can be there for others and be the best for others. This will keep you from being reactive, because being reactive is resorting to unhealthy behaviors and even habit-forming addictions. Self-care is not always easy because it takes our attention, but the best part of it, it can be practiced in just 30 minutes or practice for as long as you want. Here are some tips. Make time for yourself. Eat healthy. What foods do you enjoy? This promotes healthy energy and also better moods. Exercise daily. It's good for your strength, mobility, and has mood boosting effects. And it's even good for anxiety. What do you like to do when you move your body? You can even turn this into a feel-good exercise, and it only takes 20 minutes a day. You can even break it up into 10-minute segments twice a day. Get together with loved ones. Spend time with people so you can provoke positive feelings. Who do you love to be around? Take big and even small breaks throughout the day. This can help you relax, push through your challenges, and all the things you need to get through. What are the things you like to do? Do you like to read? Do you like to sit in nature? Or do you just like to sit and be still? So what is self-love? Self-love is the tranquility inside yourself. Some people say it's loving yourself as if you're your best friend, or treating yourself as if you're going to treat a child. It's finding the quality and the tranquility in yourself that makes you special. It's having appreciation and acceptance for oneself. One way to think about this is to empower yourself with empowering selfie words, such as self-respect. It's important to have these words in your life. It's important to empower yourself every day by using them, by saying, I have self-kindness, I have self-resourcefulness, I have self-compassion, I have self-understanding, I have self-acceptance, and I have self-awareness. When you're on a journey, remember to use these words and use them joyfully. Sometimes people are confused about self-love versus selfishness. Love is kind, it's not selfish. To put it simply, selfishness is about taking advantage of others, or even trying to control somebody's life to benefit their own. Self-love is about caring for yourself in a positive way. Self-love allows you to take care of your needs while you're recognizing the needs of others. Always remember, people are responsible for their own happiness, just as you're responsible for your own happiness as well. For example, selfishness in a relationship is when a person is trying to prevent somebody from trying to live their best authentic life. In extreme cases, this can set them up for depression. On a deeper level, if you are experiencing somebody like this, it's probably time to move down your own path. Stay in your own lane and let them go in their own lane too, because it's not a win-win situation. Remember, our people are born different and need to be who they are so they can grow happier and wiser. Self-love puts you in a win-win situation because it's putting your own needs first so you can be the best version of yourself. This way you can support others to be the best version of themselves. When you're treating yourself with self-love, you're mirroring others of how you want to be treated. Don't allow anything different. Remember to focus on your positive qualities instead of your negative qualities. Remember that everybody makes mistakes, and mistakes are proof that you're trying, from the great Maya Angelou said, the American poet. Embrace a compliment and let the feeling last. Be the composure of your own love and use appreciation, acceptance, acknowledge your strengths, acknowledge your weaknesses, and use your strengths to improve upon your weaknesses. Be forgiving. And when you do this, do it joyfully. Self-love is being about kind and compassionate to yourself. You set an example in how you want others to treat you. Together, self-love and self-care creates a well-balanced being. Self-care is taking care of our bodies and our minds. When we practice self-care, we may feel better and perform better at what we do. Self-love is about accepting ourselves and appreciating all we have to offer. So even though self-love and self-care are described differently, the ultimate goal is having both of them in our lives so we can have a positive relationship with ourselves and improve our overall well-being. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Practice, that was very, very good. Thank you for sharing that. And next up, we have Sylvia will be introducing Kate Orr and her presentation for today.
Morning, everyone. This morning, I have a pleasure of evaluating Kate. She is always so enthusiastic and uplifting and early in the morning. I don't know if it's the caffeine or what. But Kate is working, persuasive influence, level 4, elective, manage projects successfully. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. The purpose to practice developing a plan, building a team, and fulfilling a project. The speech should reflect on the experience, which she has many of. And the title of her speech is Recap of AM Lockport in the PM. Kate.
Thank you, Sylvia. Recap of AM Lockport in the PM. Well, there's one more night tonight. You have a chance still to join us if you're interested. The project for this level 4 is 5 weeks ago, I gave a 2 to 3 minute speech, project 1, giving the information of what this project was going to be. And AM Lockport in the PM was the project. So since 5 weeks ago, in the evenings, 7 p.m. on Thursdays, some of us as Toastmasters met in the evenings on Zoom. And I would like to now do a recap, even though I haven't completed it. I was on the schedule today, so I thought today's a good day to give the recap of how it's gone so far. And again, you have one more evening to join us from 7 to 8 p.m. on the same Zoom link as our regular meeting. We'd love to have you. So lessons learned is where I'm going with this. I guess I can get away from the lectern. Let's do this. I don't have notes today anyway. I am excited to give a recap of this project though, because I feel like it was something that was simmering and something I was thinking about doing for a while, and then finally did it. Now, the strengths. We were 6 members altogether who spent time together over the last few weeks, and we worked a bit in Pathways, a bit on the website, but mostly a lot of chatting, practicing, talking. For example, Thomas, who is not here today, was the focus of one of our sessions. It turned into a speechcraft workshop to help him improve his contest speech, which then he competed with and then actually won Division A's contest. That's very exciting. I think we've had 3 members who've done that before. I think David and Gerald and Mark Campos, sir, on Zoom. I believe you've gone that far. That's really exciting. So we're going to look forward to the end of April when we can see Thomas compete. And that's about working together, several of us giving feedback and strengthening one another, spending some time with that. That was a great part of what we did. And it was kind of a throwback to our social hours when we had to be on Zoom in a different way. And it was a more intimate setting, and I enjoyed it very much. I hope that everyone who attended did also. And you have another chance tonight if you'd like to give a speech. Someone who I thought was giving a speech tonight can't, so there is some time and opportunity if you have a speech that's longer or just a regular length speech that you want to accomplish and you're not on the schedule for a while, or you're prepared to do that tonight and help us as a club continue reaching all of our goals and continue as yourself reaching your own personal goals. Lessons learned on the side of what would I have done differently? I think I would have invited people personally instead of the announcements and the emails. I think much more direct contact and saying, hey, you know what? I know you were struggling with this. Why don't you stop over in Zoom land and we can talk about this? Or do you have a speech? I know you're only 1 speech away from your level. I know you're only 2 speeches away. Maybe let's crank that out. I haven't done that as well as I could. That's something I'd like to continue improving. Now, I know that I have a bit more time because this is a 5 to 7 minute speech, and I want to chat about something that's kind of came out of these evenings, and it would be what's coming up. Some of it is social hour, like I'm the cruise director, as David has said many times, and some of it is just what's happening and how we're putting together and pulling together all these exciting changes for our club. Moving from this amazing space, we're only here 2 more times, I believe, if my math is right. So we're looking for April. It's just few weeks away now, 2 weeks away, to begin at the YMCA. So we're switching over. So you have 2 more opportunities to get here in person. And 2 weeks from today, we'd like to celebrate. We're going to, the officers decided we would do a celebration that morning. So we'll have bagels again and we'll enjoy ourselves, and a finale to say goodbye to the YWCA. We're going to get some goodies for Sylvia and her staff, which I have yet to ask Sylvia for details about, but we're going to leave behind some goodies. We would love a little breakfast behind, maybe bagels, something. If your staff's not interested, we'll figure that out too. But it's a possibility because we were talking about it out of these Thursday night sessions. So 2 weeks from today will be the final meeting here. And there's a lot going on in the background. Some of you are communicated with on those emails, and some of you are not an officer or not interested or not involved. But what's happening? We have a beautiful new lectern on the side here. If any of you have not seen it here in the room, this is something that our club officers, thank you to Len, seeing it on Facebook, something marketplace. Let's jump on it. Can we do this? Is this something? Can we get it? It's cheap. Let's do it. Mike Florio's got the trailer. Let's go get it. So we have this ready to move, because this lectern here is the YWCA's lectern, being very kind. They have let us use this. And or this is not a podium because you stand on it. Now we stand on something, but it's more of the board. It's still a lectern, but this will be a lectern we're moving over. All of this is happening in the background in a couple of weeks. And we'll be shifting over. That April 1st Saturday that I announced at the beginning of the meeting is 2 days later. So the last meeting here is the last March Thursday. Yay, celebrate. And then everything gets packed up and hustled over to the YMCA because of a team in the background who are awesome, situating that. And then we'll celebrate that Saturday with our 39th anniversary. We're planning a bigger one for next year. That also came out of these Thursday night evening sessions. We've been talking about it for years, since our last milestone at 35. Now we're at 40 coming up next April. So that's exciting. And oh goodness, there's more. There's always more to come. But I think I will wrap it up since we're at the mid-speech mark. I think that the Thursday night PM sessions were a success on a lot of levels. I'm excited to continue moving on in this path. And thank you all for your support for all of these projects that we're doing. We have so much going on. Thanks for all of you for pulling the weight. We appreciate you all. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
As always, our next evaluator is Beth Banks, and she'll be introducing David Licata and what he has to share with us this morning. Thank you.
Good morning again. I do have the pleasure of evaluating Dave Licata this morning. He will be doing a speech. The purpose of his project is to apply the skills needed to successfully lead in a volunteer organization and to share some aspect of his experience serving as a leader. The title of Dave's speech is The Care and Feeding of Volunteers. It is a 5 to 7 minute speech timer. Dave Licata, The Care and Feeding of Volunteers.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and to all the guests that I've invited who have yet to show up. Let's pretend that you have been assigned by some grand official to take care of a mission. And part of this problem is now you have to find volunteers. So to translate this into my sales background, it's time to prospect, 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 prospect. Where are you going to find these volunteers? Now, thanks to my longevity in situations like this, I have made a few discoveries. what kind of person do you want on this team? Well, the crazy part is you're going to have to look for the busiest people you know, because it's the busy people that get it done. Now I have to do a little aside here and share some issues that bother me. People like your average Toastmaster, full of earnestness, fired up, can't wait to get going. And we come across people that have the quickest veto. You ask them to be a volunteer, this is what the mission is, and they give you that quick veto. I don't have time for that. This is when my teeth go clenched. Oh, that's right, I forgot. I have 2 maids and a chauffeur, a gardener, and a houseboy. That's why I have time to do it. It is so easy to use that. But it's also a dead giveaway is you don't want that person. Folks, there isn't a person in this room, downtown Lockport, the whole world that doesn't believe they're busy. And they can just throw that off. Oh, I'm busy. Everybody's busy. But that brings you back to the point. You're looking for that person that knows how to do things. The ones that never volunteer, they're missing out. They're missing out on the joy of seeing the mission accomplished. They're missing out on the pride from getting the job done. But they're also missing out socially. Because as we know, after 39 years of Toastmastering, how fast and how fine the friends are that we've made, for myself, in the case of 39 years of Toastmastering. And thanks to Facebook, these people have moved on, they've moved away, but I'm still in touch with them. And I often, if you've seen my Facebook contributions, I often put up old pictures from when we met at Friendly's right outside the store. And these are marvelous people. So it doesn't hurt, because you're going to enlarge that circle of people that you know. Now, the people, for my money, the people who are enjoying life the most are the busy ones. And they know how to manage their time. And this brings up a little Dave Licata anecdote. I was at Buffalo General Hospital, lying on the operating table, but it was a situation, the procedure only called for me to be half out. And we're looking at this big, huge 2 screens that size of my heart. And I looked up the doctor and I said, gee, you look a little sad. And he says, well, my family's on me. They complain I don't spend enough time with them. Well, I said, I know, doctor, you're very busy, but you got to wedge it in. And folks, you got to wedge it in when somebody asks you to volunteer because you don't want to miss out on these opportunities. So you're looking for the people that can find the balance between work and leisure, family and friends, heaven and earth. Find the people who can work both sides of that street. These are the folks you are prospecting for. Now that you found them, don't spend all your time harvesting them, but cultivate them. And by that, I mean have some activities that have nothing to do with the mission so they can get to know each other. So that is dining out, picnics, so on and so forth. Because believe me, it's a great opportunity to build fellowship. And that will strengthen the volunteers' efforts. Being part of a volunteer group should be rewarding. But never speak to a volunteer like they're signing their paycheck, because they're not getting a paycheck. They're giving their time, they're giving their talent, and in some cases, they're giving their treasure. Those are the people we want. Now, in conclusion, I want to thank Katie Banks for making this speech so easy, because all I did is tell you what Katie does every time she has to put a group together. Mr. Toastmaster.
Heartfelt words to live by. We call for timers report. Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Once again, I'm pleased to report all three of our speakers came in on time. Nancy spoke her 7:51, 8 to 10 minute speech. Kate, 6:57, and Dave Licata wrapped it up right at 7 o'clock, or 7 minutes rather. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. I'm not sure, but very nice. As usual, David really brought up some heartfelt things. And I've had that same view from an operating table not very long ago. And the one thing I was upset about with the doctor, I wondered if he had enough sleep for the night. And he goes, "Don't worry, Mark, we're going to get you in there first thing." I said, "Well, maybe, doctor, maybe take me the second or third operation, because I really want you to be totally awake, and I'm worried about you." And I found myself in the hospital so many times that I cared equally as much for my caregivers as I thought about myself. And I had this empathy going with some of the caregivers, how really abused they were out there, and how staffs were running a third less on a daily basis, and really driving them into their wits end. And very often I would say, "Sit down, let's talk about it." And they say, "Mr. Crane, I'm supposed to be here helping you." I said, "You're a visitor. If you come past my threshold, I'm going to steal time from you." And that was the most depression I ever had to encounter, was being in the hospital and away from loved ones. And let our loved ones know why we're there, and why we love them. Sometimes we forget. And so moving on, we have let's see. Words. Yeah, evaluations for our.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Mark, fellow Toastmasters, and Nancy for the opportunity to evaluate you on a speech project that you are working on for your work. And she had to leave. Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll make sure she gets this, and I'll let her know she can watch the recording. What Nancy excelled at, she explained what she was going to talk about right in the beginning, right from the get-go. She used hand gestures to let her assistant Len know to change the slide, which was great. She told me, Nancy, you told me you wanted to work on pace and tone, and I feel that they were definitely appropriate for the audience, which is you said it was a work-related audience, and I feel that it was definitely appropriate. For example, the tone, I don't know if you'd say it was a somber mood or a somber tone, but it was for those that may need help. I know you mentioned in the beginning of the speech that you were dealing with some people that may have low self-esteem or other related issues. So that was definitely appropriate, the tone and the pace. I think you were right on with the tone and the pace. Again, the PowerPoint slides were excellent. And as I mentioned, you had hand gestures to your assistant Len to change the slides. And I liked the photos of the slides, and the one that really stood out in my mind when you're talking about self-love, and it showed the picture of a small pond, and it looked like a reef or a picture of a green, and it was dangling over the water, and there were drops of water coming off that. And that really hit home with me. It was very tranquil, as it mentioned, because yesterday I was cross-country skiing by myself before I met up with some friends, and I didn't unfortunately meet up with Dave, but there was a pond, and there were just very similar to the slide that you showed, and it just made me really feel peaceful. There were a couple geese there, and I just stopped and took a moment to reflect on that. It was very tranquil. So your slides definitely hit home. A couple things to work on, a minor point, figure out a way to possibly set up your PowerPoint in advance from the get-go. I know there was one small, just a minor point. It took a few seconds to get to the first slide. Secondly, to possibly come out in front of the lectern. And I don't know if you're going to be able to do that for your work presentation, but I would suggest, if it's a matter of being comfortable, possibly use smaller meeting segments when you have meeting roles to come out, and just make it a point to come out to introduce your meeting role. And third, to continue speaking from the heart, perhaps memorize portions of your speech. I know you made reference to some notes, but I would love to see you do the project again without notes, because I know that it's in your heart. I know you can do it, Nancy. That wraps up my presentation. And I hope that you don't veto what I said, and best of luck. Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Marty. Our next up is Sylvia. And she'll give the sum total of her evaluation.
Yes, I brought donuts today. Not only because it's St. Patrick's Day or Mark's birthday tomorrow, happy birthday, Mark, but it's my birthday today. So, when I was 7 years old or 6 years old going to elementary, you had to bring cupcakes to school to share with your friends. So I brought donuts this morning to share with you. And I'm only 7, so just to let you know. To start with Kate's speech, if I will call this speech off the cuff, because I know Kate is very busy. Very busy. She didn't have to tell me this morning. I know she is. And a lot of it has to do with the work. She was telling me the blood drive numbers increased, which is great to hear. And it's probably part of her success. She won't take that credit, but I know she is part of that success. So I call it off the cuff speech today. I had a reminder she was speaking. It's funny. So, and there's so with that said, when Kate started back here and she knew she had to start thinking off the cuff, she kept on looking up a little bit. And as soon as she moved from this lectern to the front, that's where she needs to be, she drew us in a little more. That was really good. I like that. And you felt very comfortable doing that. You used gestures, you talked, and you slowed down in your speech a little bit, which was great. That was my challenge to you. I was going to ask you to slow down a little bit But I know you're thinking top of your head, and you want to get everything in, but you had more than enough time to do it. That was my challenge. And also the challenge, and like I said, this is off the cuff speech, is you started with the PM Lockport, how you brought success to it. Tom's contest winning is a success. I know it had to help, it didn't hurt him. And then you jumped to leaving this place. And you lost me a little bit. You really needed to build more on the success of the PM Lockport. You recognized the fault that you wanted to ask people personally instead of the way you did. And that was great, because I think that would work. Other than that, Kate, you are a great speaker. You did draw us in, and that's what I wanted to see. Thank you.
Good analysis. Next up, we have Beth. And I know she's got a lot to pull from for Dave, and we'll see how that this evaluation pans out. Thank you.
Oh, Dave. Of course, some things that you excelled at, that you're very good at. You're a seasoned Toastmaster. The vocal variety, the expressions. You had great ideas for who to look for in a volunteer, and added, of course, a couple of your little stories in there. I would have liked to have seen a few things that were a little bit different. And I find this myself, I have trouble. Sometimes we make our title for our speech, and then we make our speech, and we don't necessarily go back and check to make sure our title really matches what we're talking about. What you did was you told us how to get volunteers, and you did a great job at that. Ask the busy people. Of course, you ask the busy people. Those are the ones. You really got to what to do to take care of your volunteers at the 5-minute mark, which didn't leave you a lot of time to really talk to us about what do you do once you have a volunteer? What do you do to keep them? What do you do to feed them? And I don't mean just feed as in donuts. Thank you very much. I wish I could eat them. But what do you do to make sure that they stick around? And that's kind of what I thought you were going to be looking at, was the care and feeding of your volunteers. And that may be just my own personal opinion, but something we have to look at. As Sylvia said, coming out from behind the lectern does really get people's attention. People focus more. I don't know if it's because we're a little bit closer to the people or what, but people do focus more on that. So think about that. But all in all, your speech was a very good one. Yes, what do we do as a leader in a volunteer organization to get volunteers? It is always a challenge. I recognize that. So thank you very much, Dave, for your great speech this morning.
Thank you. Yes. Our passion, no luck here. Very good. Good analysis as usual, and calling for reports right now, I believe. Timers report, yes.
Now it's flashing lights. Okay, we went the whole meeting. Everybody spoke in time. Marty came in at 3:30, just making it. Sylvia 2:20 and Beth at 2:28. The online poll will be up in a second. Thank you.
Moving on. Call for reports. Voting for the best evaluator.
I can jump in here and do my general evaluation now, if you don't mind, before you call for the report.
Oh, thank you, Jen. I'm sorry.
Perfect. All right, so I will give my general evaluation. We had 3 evaluators today, and I think all of our evaluators gave some both positive feedback as well as some helpful feedback in order to help our speakers improve. So I want to say, Marty, one suggestion that I would have for your evaluation is to make sure that you stay focused on the evaluator and not just your reaction to it. I know you gave some helpful feedback for Nancy, but there were some points in the middle where you got a little bit lost in your reaction to her speech. So I would just note that for you. Sylvia, I feel like you've really improved as an evaluator, so I wanted to comment on that. I did hear a lot of helpful feedback for Kate as well. You did mention that her speech was off the cuff quite a lot, so I'm not sure what happened with that, or whether that was just a last minute change or whatnot. But I don't know that you necessarily needed to reiterate that quite as often. You did have some feedback for her as well. And I would just suggest maybe trying to strengthen your conclusion. It was a bit of an open-faced sandwich today. Beth, you also had some great feedback for Dave in terms of improving his speech as well. I would suggest maybe just trying to focus on some of the other positive aspects. You did suggest that it was something quite relevant to Dave's speech, but maybe using some specific feedback for the positive elements are my suggestions. And in terms of the overall meeting today, Mark, one suggestion that I have for you, I'm not sure if you had communicated with people separately via phone call. I know you did give me a call last night, but either communicating earlier on. I know you did mention that you also are having some issues accessing the website, but I want to just suggest that I know you've mentioned that technology is a bit of an obstacle for you, but I would suggest looking at it as an opportunity rather than an obstacle and seeing how that changes both your behavior and the ways that you interact with it in terms of the meeting and planning for it. Overall, you did a great job today. I know this isn't your first time as Toastmaster, but I did see some significant improvements since at least the last time that I was attending a meeting that you were the Toastmaster at. You seemed a lot more well-versed in how the meeting is run. And I think you did an excellent job in calling for all of the roles and maintaining the meeting today. So thank you for that. And I believe, I'm not sure if Marty will be helping me out in calling for reports. I know Mark had asked me to, but I am going to have to unfortunately step away. So I would ask if Marty can help call for the remaining reports today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. Madam General Evaluator, I'd like to start off calling for reports. David Jones with the Master Grammarian report.
Thank you very much. And before I get started, I don't believe we had a toast. So I would like to do a toast to Sylvia and Mark for their birthdays. So happy birthday, fellow Toastmasters. Let me see. Okay. As far as filler words, let me see. We have Tracy, who started her table topics with an and so and had quite a few so's. Sylvia acknowledged her one so and had a few stumbles and start overs just like I did. Kate Orr, since she was doing an off the cuff, had quite a few so's and an and that's all I had for filler words, other than, of course, our self-proclaimed Toastmaster indicated that he is the master of filler words, which today he does get the ribbon for that. A few interesting words and phrases I heard, they both came from Jackie as table topics: maneuver into something versus being voluntold, which we do here at Toastmasters. And children are a wonderful convenience. She has not met my younger daughter, but usually they are. And Jen just indicated they are opportunities, not obstacles. And I just wanted to comment on what Dave was talking about in his speech about volunteers. It is contest season. And my biggest gripe is people running for office now don't have to be role holders or functionaries, and that seems to be an out. I happen to be having my division contest next Thursday night. If anybody wants to have fun by being a judge or a functionary, let me know. It is 6:30 next Thursday on Zoom. Back to you.
Thank you, David. Next up, we have anyone have a quiz? We want to skip the quiz. We'll go directly to the word master then. Mark Campos, how did the word veto go today? Mark.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. I suppose it could be said that some of the Toastmasters vetoed the word veto. However, there were a handful that did utilize it outside of the table topics contestants. Mark, our Toastmaster, I heard once, David Jones once. Phil, you used it twice prior to table topics. However, it was not spelled correctly, your use of veto. Jackie, the table topics master, used it 3 times, David Licata once, and Marty once. Back to you, Marty.
Thank you, Mark. That would conclude my call for reports. Call back up the Toastmaster of the day, Mark Crane, and we will have the results. If you would just like to capsulize anything, Mark, and then I'm sure we'll have the results for, we have them. We'll call up Beth for the drawing. Okay, Mark, you can go ahead. Thank you, Mark. All right, it's kind of a nice baptism of fire today, baptism. Look forward to the next time, I really do. And we have a drawing for today, and we also have best evaluator was Beth. And we had a best speaker tie. Three-way, Nancy, Kate, and Dave. And I guess that's how the numbers flew today. And our table topics second was Tracy. So, okay, let's see. Big hand and it's not on. Okay, last 3 are 703. Yes, it is. I do not have the ribbons, but whatever, we'll make note of that. We do have 1, 2, and 3. So.
Olive leaf for breakfast. Olive leaf for breakfast.
Okay. All right, well, I guess that sums up. I have one announcement when you're done.
Okay, well, Marty, open it up to the floor. And if Marty or others have an announcement, please come forward. Marty?
Thank you, Mark. This is a message for all our membership, not just those that are in person, but those that are on Zoom with us. I have an important announcement. Actually, I look at it as an opportunity. Some of you know that with the advent of Zoom, our district, which is District 65, has actually lost some clubs during the pandemic. And if any of you know me, you may have heard some stories and some presentations that I gave, how I'm not a quitter and I'm a fighter and I like to hang on to things and win. I'm very competitive. With that said, I would like you to know, and I would like you to invite you, even if you can only join on Zoom, to a club that I'm trying to rebuild. It's called the Buffalo Flyers Club. And it's originally was started at the Sodexo building. It's a food service marketing company in Cheektowaga, New York. The club meets on Tuesdays, the second and the fourth Tuesday from noon to 1. And if any of you are on the track to DTM, I think that it'd be beneficial for you to check out this opportunity, because it would not only give you a chance to work on your public speaking skills, but it'll give you an opportunity to in a more direct or quick way achieve your DTM, because many of you know that with the Pathways DTM, you not only have to complete 2 paths, but you also have to fill a club officer role. And if any of you have not served as a club officer or not finished a first or second path, I can't think of a better way to do that. And the club is only been around for 10 years, but we're basically rebuilding. And as I said, I'd hate to see the district lose a club. It's something that I just really despise. And I know that we can do it, but I'm only one person and I can't do everything for the club. I do have a list of prospects, and I was actually at the laundromat last night and I did a cold call. And the only reason I'm saying this is because we have some time. I did a cold call, and the guy is the owner of the laundromat. Not only does he own that laundromat, he owns 3 other laundromats, and he also has a real estate license. And I got to the point with him. I said, look, do you have a chance to use communication skills and public speaking in your career? He goes, oh, I sell real estate. And I said, well, I have an opportunity for you, and I have his email address, and I'm hoping that he comes to our Buffalo Flyers meeting, because I think that the skills that you learn in Toastmasters could definitely help him sell homes and show homes. Thank you for listening. You all know how to get a hold of me if you're interested. I have more information, and I would love to hear from any of you, or you could send me a prospect yourself. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for your consideration and attendance. And Mark, back to you to wrap things up. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, I will. Good morning. Very quickly. Marty, my mentor, he brought me into Buffalo Flyers, but I thought we died off for several months, and that's how you folks got the burden of having me. But he's always a recruiter, and he generally doesn't take no for an answer. He usually just has another way he can send you or somewhere else. But thank you for all your support today, and you and Zoom at home. Go out there, canvas, be out there, recruit, be prepared to replace yourself, and they can find the joy in public speaking too. Thank you again.